The needle is the least expensive part of your project. How often should we change the needle? If you count, 6, 7, 8 hours. If you don't count, new project, new needle. One lady told me she didn't like hearing this. She said, I've been sewing for 20 years. My needle used to be this long, and now it's this long. Don't tell me to change my needle because it still works. Dr. Phil would be proud of her. Good for you. That's fine. But for $1, it is worth changing the needle. There's a lot of needles on the market. Most brands have the same types. We have the universal, the quilting, the embroidery, the leather, the microtex, which used to be called the sharp. What did I miss? The double, the twin, ballpoint, the jeans, all these needle types out there. As we travel around, we talk to a lot of professional educators and a lot of professional quilters. We ask a lot of questions. One is, what needle type do you use? Amazingly, the majority of the pros, the full-time quilters, the full-time educators, use one needle type. They don't have the universal. They don't have the embroidery. They don't have the quilting needle in their stash. It's the top stitch. It's like they took the best of all needle types, the hybrid, and put it into one. Here's the advantage of the top stitch. It has a sharp point, which we like. We like that sharp point. The top stitch, the eye is double size. Most needles are going to be this long. The top stitch is elongated. Double size eye. That's very important because when we're sewing, whether it's embroidery or quilting, and we use a medium weight thread or maybe a sensitive thread like a metallic or like a tri-lobal polyester, the double size eye is important because it gives more play room for that thread to bounce through without being stressed. Very important on the top stitch. And one more feature of the top stitch, there's a groove that runs up the shaft. The groove in the top stitch needle is wider and deeper than other needle types. That means as we sew, the groove is really meant to protect the thread. The thread lies in the groove. If you are sewing with a piecing thread or a clothing construction thread, a very fine thread, maybe a 50-weight thread, needles really aren't as important because it will lie in that, a fine thread will lie in the groove. But let's talk 40-weight and heavier threads, which is medium and heavier. If you had a medium or heavier thread and you try to put it in a regular needle groove like a universal or a quilting needle, it won't lie in the groove. So now as we go up and down, guess what? The thread lies on the outside of the needle. It's going up and down through the layers of fabric. The top fabric, the batting, the under fabric is like sandpaper on my thread. You may have the best quality thread in the world. However, if the needle is wrong, it will stress the thread at the needle. 20% of the problems we can solve just by changing to the top stitch needle. The larger eye, the sharp point, the deeper groove really does make a difference. Here's a money-saving tip for you. How many have metallic needles at home? The metallic needle and the top stitch needle under a microscope are identical. Why would they do that to us? More money, because we bought them both. If you have metallic needles at home, get out a Sharpie and write, same as top stitch. There's only 3 sizes that we use. For, by far, it's a 99% of our applications. We use the top stitch 80, which is also the 12, 80/12, 2-number systems. We use the 80 for fine threads. Masterpiece for piecing, so fine. Any of the finer threads, we use size 80. For the medium threads, which is the majority of our projects, we use the 90/14. That's by far the most common needle. The top stitch 90/14 is what we use. And then if you use the heavier threads, the jeans weight threads, then we go up to the number 100/16. That's it. The top stitch 80, 90, and 100. And you should be extremely happy with the needles you use if it's the top stitch, the magic needle.
I just got back from the quilt shop. Now I gotta hide my stash, 'cause you don't want